20 months ago, Governor Cuomo promised a new New York. It was a big promise, and many folks, particularly here in the North Country, were a bit skeptical. But Governor Cuomo did what he said he would do, and in those 20 months, he has shown the North Country much attention and much respect. As you know, many towns in Essex County were devastated by the storms last summer. Families lost their homes, businesses were uprooted, and entire communities were washed away. In addition to all that Governor Cuomo has accomplished since he took office, he has taken unprecedented steps to ensure that the communities devastated by Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee receive the support from state government they need to rebuild. The governor was here when we were preparing for the storms. He was here when the storms hit, and he came back to help us in our recovery efforts. Even months later, he did not forget us. He showed that this is truly a New York when he came here to reopen a vital North Country artery, Route 73, way ahead of schedule. His commitment in ensuring that our people's needs are being met is so much appreciated. He has been a hands-on governor, securing the necessary funds needed by local government as we rebuild from this devastation of Hurricane Irene. In fact, the governor has visited Essex County so many times that today I am giving him this Essex County voter registration form and our official Essex County pin. It is my pleasure to introduce to you my friend, the Honorable Governor Andrew Cuomo of the great state of New York.
Thank you very much. I think Randy gave me the form just because he knows I'd vote for him if I were here. First, to Randy Douglas, let's give him a big round of applause for his leadership and his friendship. It's great to be back with my friend, Senator Betty Little. We were together yesterday in Albany. Senator, pleasure to be with you. Bill Ferriby, thank you very much for your leadership. Pleasure to be with you, Bill. All the other elected officials, all the dignitaries, it's just my pleasure and my honor to be back, and every time I come up. It is just, and I come back often, but not often enough in my book. I hope you always appreciate and never take for granted the magic that you have here in the North Country and how special a spot you have on this planet. Really, it really is amazing, and never take it for granted. Randy was talking about what we said when we started 20 months ago. Feels like just yesterday. But we said we were going to build a new New York. We talked about new relationships. We talked about new energy. We talked about new progress. And we set the bar very high. The state had big problems, and we needed big solutions. It wasn't about incremental change. It was about dramatic change. And I think we're feeling it. I know we're feeling it in the North Country. There is an energy in the North Country that I've never felt before. I feel the North Country coming together in a way they haven't come together before, coming up with regional partnerships and regional strategies, with a new economic future, a new thrust, and I am just pleased and honored to be part of it. And the relationship between the state government and the North Country, I think, has never been stronger. And the credit goes to the people in this room, and it's my honor to be part of that. It's also amazing to think back that it's about the one-year anniversary, almost to the day, of Tropical Storm Irene and Lee, literally almost to the day that we were here. And if I were a painter, if I had any artistic ability, and I could depict that day, that moment, there would be two very different images. One image that I will carry with me forever is the image of the power of Mother Nature and the devastating power of Mother Nature. and how streams and brooks just rose up and consumed buildings and streets and dams. People's lives literally washed away. The old Keene Firehouse cut in half. It was almost unimaginable, the strength of Mother Nature. And all across parts of upstate New York predominantly. It was really breathtaking and frightening to see. It was also tragic to see how lives were just uprooted and people's homes were gone and people's belongings gone, just overnight, literally. And the devastation in many cases. That's one image that is as clear today as it was a year ago. But there was another image also, and that was of our response to what happened, and New Yorkers' response to what happened, and how people came together, and the heroism of people, and the selflessness of people, and the spirit of community that was alive and well and present, and people doing one for another like you couldn't even imagine. I remember being in a basement, shoveling mud into a bucket, and then we had a chain of people that would take the bucket up and dump the mud. And I'd been working with one woman, and we were covered in mud from head to toe. And you remember that mud. It wasn't even mud. It was like a silt. It was very fine, and it got everywhere, and you couldn't get it out. And we were just covered. And we're shoveling this mud in this low basement, and it was sticky, and it was hot. And she had been there even before I was there, and we started chatting. And I just thought it was such a beautiful thing that she was doing, killing herself in this person's basement. And she said, as we were chatting, she said, well, this is my neighbor, and I live up the block. And we were working a while. Eventually, we finished, and we walked out of the house, and we were walking up the street, and I said, well, show me your house. And we walked up a ways, and we walked into her house. Her house was just as bad as the house that we had just spent all that time in shoveling. And she hadn't even started shoveling out her own home. And there was mud every whole first floor, right up the wall, every piece of furniture, everywhere. And I remember being taken that this woman who had so much work to do in her own house and her own place was so giving to go help her neighbor rather than worry about herself. And when you looked at this house, you didn't even know where to start. It was so bad. And the woman looked at me and she said, you know, we will find a way. We will find a way. And we will find a way together. And those words were so profound and so powerful and so true. And we found a way together. And in many ways, that was the story all across the state. This state came together as one. We had an organized effort just a week later called Labor for Your Neighbor on Labor Day, where thousands of New Yorkers gave up their Labor Day weekend and they came together just to help one another. Just to shovel and sweep and get dirty, but just to be there one for another. And even if there was nothing to do, just to show company, just to show support. So that image is as clear as the devastation, is the image of community. And what we can do when we work together. And that was a powerful message that served me well. And the Keene Firehouse is a metaphor for that. The building was cut in half. And we said, well, we'll build back, and not only will we build back, but we will build back better than before. And the community came together, and the town came together, and the county came together, and everybody worked very hard and raised a lot of money and came very close to building the new firehouse and having the finances to do that. Little confusion, let down with our friends at FEMA. Federal money that people were relying on didn't actually happen, so now there's a little bit of a shortfall. Not that little bit of a shortfall, actually, kind of pretty big shortfall. a long shortfall, if there is any such thing. But the woman in the basement was right. We come together, we will find a way. And if we're really good, we'll find a way to come back and build a better firehouse and a bigger firehouse and a firehouse that is better prepared for the future. And that's what today is about. And it is my pleasure, on behalf of the state of New York, your friend, your partner, to say that we're going to help you cover that little bit of a shortfall and provide $640,000 so we can actually build that firehouse that we need, and we're going to do that today.
Thank you very, very much. And Governor, we can't thank you enough. But on behalf of all the people here, I do want to thank you for coming. The governor is a hands-on governor, and I will tell you, one of the hardest working governors that I've ever witnessed. He doesn't stay in Albany. He doesn't have a hard time coming north of Albany. He could do a lot of things with today's technology and not have to be here, but he has been here for us. He has been here over and over in the midst of our disaster, in our healing, and now in this wonderful recovery and the assistance that we're getting. The governor is more than a governor, he is a friend. And my image, going back a year ago, was when we had looked at the firehouse and were walking away, and there was a lady sitting on her deck, right down near the firehouse on the way, except her mobile home was gone. There was nothing there but the deck. And the governor went up and sat on the deck with her and talked to her. This was the governor of the state of New York, but he was being a friend. And I think that that is the feature that I love the most about Governor Cuomo and what he has done and what he is doing to help us out. So we thank him very, very much for all of his efforts, for being there for us all the times that he has been there. Now, I will have to tell you, Bill, if you take this check to the bank, I don't think they're going to take it, although that signature with the exclamation point is perfect. But it is real money. This was a problem, believe me. Here we have the property, we cleared the property, we're ready to go to start building, and word was coming that the money was not going to come as we had expected. So what do? We appeal to our friend the governor, and here he is with what we needed to get this going. Now, we all know it's a beautiful day, it's a lovely day here, nice and warm and everything else, but we also know how quickly winter comes in the North Country, and we needed to get construction going. So thank you, Governor, for expediting this process and allowing us to get a firehouse built that will keep the fire trucks under cover, not under fire again, I hope. Wow. All our volunteers, places to meet, places to train, and places to be prepared to help out the people of this area should a fire occur. So it's a great day. It's an especially great day here in the North Country to once again have Governor Cuomo here and having his assistance. And certainly, it's also my pleasure to introduce one of the best advocates for the town of Keene, Bill Farabee.
Wow. Thank you, Senator, for all your kind words, and welcome back to Keene, Governor Cuomo. It's been a long road, and we still have a lot of work to do to recover. But thanks to the governor, the state has once again stepped up, this time with a check for $640,000, a check that will help us to continue to rebuild our fire department. Throughout the governor's time in office, and especially during last year, New York State government has been our steadfast ally in helping our communities recover and rebuild. We thought all hopes were lost and no one would ever come to our aid. But what Randy and Senator Little have said is true about the governor. He has a team that have been working for us ever since before the clouds even broke. He was on the ground and deployed every resource that the state had in its immediate aftermath of the storm. The state stayed on the ground for weeks to help us clean up and start to rebuild. Governor Cuomo has stayed with us for the long haul, and he meant it. He returned to the North Country for the reopening of Route 73, which was repaired ahead of schedule due to the dedication of the New York State DOT. He continued to honor his commitment to helping us rebuild our communities, revitalize our businesses, and reconstruct our homes. He brought the state together in a historic volunteer effort called Labor for Your Neighbor. New Yorkers from all across the state came to our communities, rolled up their sleeves, and got to work to help us clean up our damages. During the holidays, when many were still struggling to make ends meet and couldn't afford gifts for their children, Governor Cuomo again brought the state together and launched a statewide toy donation drive to put a smile on faces of thousands of children who hadn't had a lot to smile about. In April, Governor Cuomo was there again when the state took over our share of the recovery costs, which saved the town of Keene constituents 12.5% of our cost. That was a great announcement. And today, he is here to fill this critical, immediate need. Throughout this ordeal, Governor Cuomo has shown us that we are not alone. So, as I stand here this afternoon, and I look out at the people that have gathered here today, I see so many of the same faces that I saw a year ago. Our family, our friends, our Keene firemen, our Keene Valley firemen, firemen from our neighboring towns, along with state and local officials. But today there are different expressions on these faces. This morning I walked the streets of Keene and Keene Valley, the same as I did a year ago. A year ago there were faces of fear, confusion, and disbelief of what had just happened to our town. The question from all was, what do we do now? Where do we go? Not knowing how we were going to rebuild or even where to start. So we took on this enormous task day by day, and we are all still working together to bring ourselves back together. We assembled a great team from our local residents to our governor's office. As mentioned before, the governor's Labor Helping Neighbor program, we were overwhelmed with the outpouring of volunteers from all over New York State and beyond. The outpouring of donations such as food, clothing, money, shovels, rakes, wheelbarrows, gloves, flashlights, everything we needed to help us start to clean up. So as I walked this morning, I saw repaired buildings, replaced bridges, homes being lived in again, flowers, new trees replaced the ones that were uprooted by the flood. But what I noticed the most were the faces were no longer faces of sorrow, faces of fear, but of joy, a sense of happiness, a feeling of togetherness. We have recovered well, but only as a result of everyone working together, and I can't thank everyone enough. I have to tell you how I described the flood or the storm at an earlier event in Lake Placid. I was asked, how to relate the storm. Well, I thought of where we are. We are in the heart of the Adirondacks. So I looked at what had happened to us as if we had had a heart attack. Our major artery, being Route 73, had burst. Our life was flowing out of our body. So what do? You call the best team that you can get. So we called our chief surgeon, Governor Cuomo, assisted by Senator Little, Assemblywoman Sayward, and Assemblywoman Dupree. They repaired our ruptured artery. They restored our flow of life. Then came the recovery room, which is all of you here. You tended to our everyday needs. You have helped us rise up and walk. And now we are ready to run again, stronger and faster. So we want to thank the entire team for all your combined efforts in bringing us to where we are today. Again, Governor, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and thank you all.